Hi everybody, my name is Angelica from the Math Magician Bookkeeping. I'm one of the students in Bryce's coaching program, and today I'm going to be talking about how to gain clients as an introvert. So I may not look like it because I make a lot of these videos and you've probably seen me on here several times, but I am actually a pretty introverted person. I used to be a very outgoing, extroverted person when I was about a teenager, but then life happened. I lost some friends along the way and just kind of withdrew and became more introverted. And so I like to spend a lot of time at home. I enjoy just hanging out with my husband. I keep a very close-knit circle of people around me. And I don't really like going out and talking to people and making a bunch of conversation. So I prefer to just kind of be doing my own thing on my own and not really having to make those connections. But that can be a huge hindrance as a business owner, because one of the things that you have to do is make connections with people, and that is one way that you grow your business, is making those connections. But it can be very anxiety driven. Like, I'm the type of person that I get anxiety from social interactions, and so it can be very anxiety inducing to have to do that. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that have helped me in my business as an introvert. So let's talk about some of the struggles that we introverts face. So one of them would be talking on the phone for me. It does not matter if I know the person very well, and I actually used to be a receptionist for a very long time, which is one of the most horrible things that I could have ever done as an introvert. But I just absolutely hate having to get on the phone to talk with people. I actually prefer talking on the phone versus texting sometimes, just because I want to just get clear to the point and I don't have time to sit there and wait for responses. But the actual act of having a meeting, having to set aside time to talk to someone on the phone gives me so much anxiety. When I'm in the moment and I'm actually doing it, it's not so bad. But before then, leading up to it, I get so anxious and I just literally dread the whole entire thing all the time. It's one of the things that it's just the worst thing in the world for me to do. And then along with that, just talking to people in person. I hate having to come up with small talk. I'm usually not a very small talk person anyway. I usually try to get to the meat and bones of whatever issue it is or what someone wants. I don't like to beat around the bush. You've probably noticed from some of my videos that I usually just get right into it. I know sometimes I ramble, like right now, but talking in person to someone face to face can be very anxiety inducing for me, probably more so than talking on the phone, because at least on the phone I can pretend that I don't care what people are saying, but in person I have to actually react and make my face not show that I don't really care about their great-grandmother's dog that, rolled over and did a cool trick. Stuff like that, whereas it's like, oh, yeah. But that's usually one of the things for me. And so I probably come across very unfriendly at times because I don't typically like to do those types of conversations. And then this also is a struggle to want to set meetings because of the anxiety that comes with it. I cannot tell you how many times that I have just had these meetings back to back to back, dreading them, just dreading, hoping that they would cancel, hoping something would come up where they couldn't do it. But then the longer that goes on and the more we have to reschedule, the worse it just gets. So it's better to just have it over and done with, but that can be very hard to want to have it happen at all, and you kind of get lost in a standstill. But I will have meetings and then just be absolutely 100% drained afterwards. It could be a 10-minute phone call or meeting, and I am still just like, I can't handle it. It drains me so much. So if you're introverted, you can probably relate to some of these. Maybe not as much or maybe even more. So anyway, but the reality of owning a business is that you need to make those connections. You need to have those meetings. You need to talk face to face and be friendly. And that can be a huge struggle. So let's talk about ways to actually do that. One of them is to build your confidence. I actually have a video right here that talks about how to gain confidence as a bookkeeper. But just in general, as a person, gaining confidence within yourself, because a lot of the times that I don't want to do it, meet with people or anything, is because I feel like I never have anything valuable to add to a conversation. I feel like I get talked over a lot, and so therefore I tend to kind of slink back and become even more reserved in my own shell. But it's just one of those things that once you have confidence and you realize that what you do have to say does actually matter, being confident is going to kind of push you more into that direction of being more assertive and speaking out and not letting people walk all over you. But yeah, just that's one of those things, is to build your confidence, because that is going to help in a lot of ways. And I'm still always, it's a work in progress with my confidence. And then use being an introvert as a strength. Don't think of all the ways that it's holding you back and you're not making good connections. Think of how being an introvert is a strength. So one of the ways that being an introvert is a strength is we tend to be more independent. We tend to be better listeners. We tend to develop more meaningful relationships. Like I said earlier, I keep a very close-knit group of friends around me, so I don't just go off making friends with every single person that I run into on the road and then not really getting to the meat of who they are as a person. I like to keep those friendships around me and get to know them better and focus on them. I'm an only child, and even growing up, I was very like a one-person person. If I had a friend, it was just with that one friend. I didn't want to be around a big group of people. When I was dating my husband, it was like I just wanted to be with him. I did not care about anybody else. And even as I'm married, I'm kind of the same way with my husband, where it's like, as long as I got him, I don't care that much about everybody else. I mean, obviously, I still go see my parents and everything. But I'm just like, I'm fine spending a night just watching YouTube or something with my husband. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I don't have to be going out and partying every weekend. So that was just kind of a whole tangent, but we tend to develop more meaningful relationships, which means whenever we actually do meet with clients that we click with very well, then those are kind of lasting relationships. I have a client that I received back in August, and now we are super tight. My husband said the other day, he's like, I overheard you talking on the phone and it sounded like you were talking to a sister. And once I actually have those relationships, I don't mind talking to those people and, chatting them up. But until I actually get to that point where I feel like it's a good mutual relationship, it can be very daunting for me. But like I said, one of our other strengths is we are independent, which means we don't have to rely on a bunch of people to do our work for us. We can tend to do it on our own, and we can use that as a selling point of like, I keep my nose to the grindstone and I just get my stuff done. I don't have to rely on this huge production team to get the stuff done for me. And so that's one way that you can use that as a strength. And then obviously listening, this is going to help build more meaningful relationships because you'll be able to latch onto things that other people may not notice as much. So use those things as a strength, and then you'll be able to build better connections. And then be conversational with your questions. So if, let's say, you are at some kind of networking event and you talk with someone, be conversational with your questions. Ask questions that you would want to be asked. Like I said, I'm one of those, I want to get to the meat and potatoes. I don't really care about small talk, but I don't mind if someone asks me, what do you do? How long have you been doing that for? So on and so forth. Something I usually like to bring up that's kind of an interesting thing about me is that I live in a school bus, and usually that'll start a decent conversation. I just hate conversations that don't really lead to anywhere, where it's like, oh yeah, I just work as a bookkeeper, and then they're kind of like, okay, yeah, and what else do you do? And it's just awkward. I hate those awkward silences, and I tend to get just like, all right, there's nothing really more, so I will see you later, and leave it at that. But, ask them about their family life, ask them what they do, try to ask them more meaningful connections and be conversational. Like I said, bring up things that are interesting to you that maybe they'd be interested in. So that is another thing to do whenever you're actually speaking with people. One other thing that's really great that doesn't really actually require a whole lot of talking to people is making business cards and passing them out at different locations. Now, depending on how you want to do this, you may actually end up going into a business asking them, "Hi, I have some business cards. Do you mind if I set them up here for display for your other, customers?" Or you can go at it from I'm new to the area. I have these business cards. I'm a bookkeeper if you yourself is interested. But usually I like to go at it from the approach of that I don't really want a lot from them. I just want to set up my business cards and just kind of give them a little synopsis about who I am. And then they can decide for themselves whether they need a bookkeeper or not. I don't usually like to be pushy with that kind of stuff. There have been a few times that I have, just depending on the conversation. But for the most part, if people act like they're not super interested at that time, then I just kind of leave it in their hands. If they are actually interested enough, they've got my stuff sitting right there on their desk, so they can find me at any time. So that's one thing that's really nice, is just having your business cards, sending them out, putting them in different places. There's a few restaurants that we go to that they have a little section where you can put business cards. And so that's one way of kind of getting out there. And then the creme de la creme is using the internet to your advantage. So reach out to people via LinkedIn, Facebook, Alignable, Thumbtack, pretty much any way that you can reach out to people online. And it's not as daunting to make those connections. And one of the ways you can do this is if you make a Facebook post. Just wait for people to like your post and then reach out to those people and just say, "Hey, thank you so much for liking my post. What did you find the most useful out of it?" or so on and so forth. Usually with LinkedIn, all I have to do is really send out messages saying, "Hey, I saw your profile. I was wondering if we could connect." And people will almost immediately message back and go, "Hey, you're a bookkeeper? I actually need a bookkeeper." It's kind of crazy how that works. And then it kind of cuts out all the BS. But if that's not the case, that's not every single person's not going to be like that. But if you do have people that, you've sent a message to, they've connected with you, it's all about kind of building that relationship. Just saying something like a compliment about their profile, or how long have you actually been doing this? Just kind of going on and asking them more conversational things, but don't make it super extended. And then kind of go in with is anybody taking care of your books for you? And you're not actually being pushy, because that's another thing as an introvert. I don't know if it's just an introverted thing or just me. I don't like to be very pushy. I like to be assertive, but I don't like to be pushy with people about things that I have to give. But I will tend to kind of beat around the bush when it comes to that a little bit. But you just want to ask them questions, see if they have anybody doing their bookkeeping, because that opens it up where they can say, "Yes, I have someone who's been doing my bookkeeping for 25 years, and you can go, "Okay, that's great." Or you can have someone that's saying, "Yes, but we're thinking of switching," or "No, we don't have anybody." And so that gives you 3 different answers right there. And even if they said, "Yes, I've had someone who's been doing my books for 25 years, does not mean that that is a no. That means that if they've been doing it for 25 years, they're probably a little bit older, probably thinking of retiring. And so that is another way that you can kind of get in there and at least be a backup. And you're going to be probably the first person they think of whenever they no longer need that bookkeeper. So anyway, those are just things that have helped me as an introvert, especially like being able to do things online, making posts occasionally, and then just using my introverted self as a strength, realizing that I have a lot more to offer than I think I do. So I hope that this video helped you out there, and if you're wanting to grow your business and you're wanting more tips on how to reach out to people like through LinkedIn, Facebook, Alignable, all of those things, Bryce has some great tips on that, and that's been one of the number one ways that I've grown my business. So if you want to learn more about that, please click the link in the description below and schedule a free phone call with him. But other than that, I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!